Good morning. It's November 16, 2023. It's Thursday. It's 11:17 in the morning. This is Commissioner Stacy Knoll, and I'll call this meeting to order at this time. We are recording the meeting, and I'll ask everyone to follow our typical ground rules. Let's try not to speak over each other. And if you can, introduce yourself before you begin speaking, especially the first time you begin speaking, so that we know who you are and so that our record is clear. And again, we are recording this meeting and we'll do so throughout unless and until we're in executive session. We will be proceeding through our agenda, which is available on our website and also gets distributed to interested parties. And with that, we'll begin with a land acknowledgement. The City of Seattle Public Safety Commission acknowledges that we are on the traditional land of the first people of Seattle, the Duwamish. We honor with gratitude the land and the Duwamish people past and present. We'll now go to number 3 on the agenda, introductions. I've introduced myself. I will turn to the person sitting on my left and then the person on the telephone, and then we'll go to the executive director for further introductions.
Hello, my name is Richard Green. I'm a commissioner.
I am Commissioner Nard on this telephonically.
I'm Andrea Sheely. I am the Executive Director of the Public Safety Civil Service Commission, and I'll introduce our departmental staff. We have Teresa Jacobs, Executive Assistant for the Commission, and Sarah Butler, Operations and Policy Advisor for the Commissions. And we have our legal counsel here with us today. Thank you for being here. Joe LeBan from the Government Affairs section and Ann Told from the Employment section. We also have a couple of folks here in person, Tom Applegate and Kenny Stewart.
Is anyone else present who would like to introduce themselves at this time? You're welcome to do so, but not required.
This is Sarah Lee, Human Resources Director for the Seattle Fire Department.
Katrina Kelly, Assistant City Attorney.
Hannah Costin, Seattle Fire Department HR.
Okay, thank you all. I think that concludes our introductions. At this time, we'll go, oh, sorry, please go ahead.
Deborah Fyander, Assistant City Attorney.
Thank you all.
Employment section.
Okay. Thank you. We'll now go to public comment. I will note that's general public comment, number 4 on the agenda. We will have a specific opportunity to comment regarding the rulemaking. That's number 5 on our agenda. So if that's your subject, please hold off. At this time, is there any public comment that does not regard the rulemaking on our agenda? Okay, thank you. Number 5, this regards rulemaking regarding Rule 10.03, return to eligible register after separation, reinstatement register. Just so we can pace ourselves, I'd like to get a sense of who anticipates they will provide public comment for this section of the agenda. I won't hold you to it, but if you're planning to give public comment, will you indicate so now? Okay, I see Ms. Lee's hand is up. Thank you.
Kenny Stewart.
Kenny Stewart. Didn't want to use the wrong. It's honorific for you. Thank you. Great. And of course, if you change your mind to add public comment or if you decide not to speak, that's fine. Thank you. I'll just give a bit of an introduction here. Again, this is Commissioner Knoll, and then I will ask the Executive Director to give us more information about the process and highlights. I'll also ask her to just briefly walk us through the relevant materials in the packet so that folks are clear on what your resources are if there are questions, etc. Also, I'm going to note now, just so everyone's chewing on it, the public comment section is an opportunity to be heard, and we look forward to hearing that input. It's not designed to be a question and answer period. And so I wanted to note that at this time. So generally, I wanted to set the stage to why we're here. We amended our rules about a year ago, I think a little bit over, no, almost exactly a year ago. And we did make changes to Rule 10.03 at that time. Since that time, concerns have been raised and input has been received by the commission that that rule was not as clear as it could have been related to what the process is for reinstatement and what pathways are available to whom. And so what we've directed the executive director to do and what we're here to talk about today is look into whether there are revisions that can be made to add clarity to the rule itself and including the process. We've appreciated input from a variety of sources along the way. And because the sources were indicating to us that clarity was needed and that perhaps the rule as revised a year ago perhaps did not meet the goals of civil service and the intent of civil service, we've been interested in engaging in the rulemaking process so that we can refine the rule itself and offer clarity. So with that, I will ask Ms. Shealy to give us more detail and information about the process and any highlights that she thinks are relevant.
Thank you, Commissioner Knoll. And I also want to thank everyone who I spoke to as part of developing these proposed changes to Rule 10.03. And the commission through Chair Knoll has already spoken to their intent in considering making changes to PSCSC Rule 10.3. In talking about this, I'm going to refer to, and if you have a packet or you'd like a packet, we have some available. I'm going to refer to pages 12 and 13. Which has a red line. Page 12 has the red line. So you can see the original version along with proposed changes, and page 13 shows the changes if they were adopted as recommended. A detail, I'll get to that. All right, highlights of these proposed revisions, which were posted on our website, the PSCSC website, and in the Daily Journal of Commerce on November 1st and 2nd, 2023, include clarification of the mechanics of the process when the commission receives a request for a former employee to be returned to the eligible register. My goal in drafting these proposed changes, the clarifying ones, was to provide a clearer, more readable and understandable description of the PSCSC review and department appointing authority approval or denial process on requests for reinstatement to the eligible register. Those clarifications are clarifying only and were not a substantive change. The next highlight was that the commission instructed me to explore potential changes that would permit former employees who were not disciplinarily discharged to request to be added to a reinstatement register, subject to timeliness requirements and subject to approval by their former employing department's appointing authority. This is a substantive change because the current rule has an exclusive list of separation types for former employees to qualify for consideration. And the proposal has a list of a single separation type. It names a single separation type, disciplinary discharge, which employees separated under that circumstance would not qualify, would not meet the criteria to be considered, even if they were timely for such a to meet their request to be added to the reinstatement register for the rank. The third highlight is regarding promotional registers that a former employee may have been on at the time of their separation. And that change, proposed change, is that employees who are reinstated So they've gone through the process, they met the criteria, their appointing authority agreed to let them be on the reinstatement register, and then they were appointed. Those employees who were on a reinstatement register would get returned to, I'm sorry, forget that reinstatement word. Those employees who were on a promotional register, so while they were still employees, they had taken a test, scored high, passed, and received a score. If that promotional register still was in existence, therefore it had not yet expired, they would get returned to that register automatically, that promotional register. That was a lot of words. So I hope that it was clear enough. Those are the highlights. And that changes that proposed rule 10.03 D. To develop the proposed changes, I discussed and sought feedback from stakeholders, which included the Seattle Police Department, the Seattle Fire Department, the Seattle Firefighters Union, Local 27, the Seattle Fire Chiefs Association, Local 2898, the Seattle Police Officers Guild, the Seattle Police Management Association, and the Fire and Police Exams Unit staff. As I mentioned earlier, we published the proposed changes on our website and in the Seattle Daily Journal of Commerce in accordance with Seattle Municipal Code 3.02.020 and 3.02030. We also sent out notice of the proposed rulemaking to our listserv and identified stakeholders. The written public comment period began on November 1st. Did not receive any written public comment other than I submitted one of my own, which you'll find starting at page 11. I did receive a couple of questions that were not public comments, but requests for clarification of the term that I had originally proposed regarding separation types. I had originally proposed that former employees who were separated for reasons other than for cause. And those questions and requests for clarification really helped me see that the language I had originally proposed was confusing and left some room for interpretation. The PSCSC's role in request for reinstatement to the eligible register is an objective role. The PSCSC determines, and this is described on page 12 at 10.03A, 1, 2, and 3. Our process is procedural. We do not make any determination about whether there was just cause, good cause, for cause to separate an employee from their employment. That is a decision for the appointing authority. And so to that end, to the end of clarification, I proposed different language in my public comment. And the language that I proposed was at proposed rule 10.03A. A former employee who was not disciplinarily discharged may request to be added to the reinstatement register to be considered with the open graded eligible register for the classification or rank. So the change in my proposal was to go from the language of separated for reasons other than for cause to a former employee who was not disciplinarily discharged. I think it's an improvement. It's definitely clearer and hopefully addresses the concerns of those folks who ask those questions and others who may read the rule. And that concludes my discussion of the highlights and process for this proposed rule change.
Okay, thank you for that. Okay, great. So you went through the process and highlights. You also walked us through the public comment that made the shift from for cause to disciplinary discharge. Okay, excellent. So where we are in the agenda now is public comment. We're aware of 2 people who would like to give public comment. We certainly welcome any others. Just a reminder, this is an opportunity to give us any input, information, opinion that you'd like to provide. We're looking forward to that. We're asking folks to keep their comments to, we'd said about 3 minutes. We have a little wiggle room since there aren't a lot of people. So try to keep it to 3 minutes, but if you need a bit more time, we're open to that. And I'll turn to you if you would like to start. Yeah, come on forward and you can start by introducing yourself.
Yeah, hello, my name is Kenny Stewart. I'm a Seattle firefighter, Seattle Fire Department, and Lieutenant on Ladder 8, and I'm president of Seattle Firefighters Local 27. I'm here regarding proposed rule change 10.03 to the Public Safety Civil Service Commission commissioners, Executive Director Sheely, and others. I'm making public comment today on behalf of Local 27, but also to benefit the public that we serve as first responders. I'm here today to urge the Public Safety Civil Service Commission commissioners to approve the proposed amendments.
Excuse me for a second. Sorry, Kenny, could you be just a little bit louder?
Oh,
And that's Commissioner Nark on the phone.
okay.
Yeah, thank you.
I will be louder. You obviously know who I am. You said my name. I'm here in regards to proposed rule change 10.03. I'm making public comment today on behalf of Local 27, but also to benefit the public that we serve as first responder. I'm here today to urge the Public Safety Civil Service Commission commissioners to approve the proposed amendments and revised Public Safety Civil Service Commission Rule 10.03. These amendments will expand the eligibility and clarity for reinstatement to include all employees who separated from the department, except those who were disciplinarily discharged. By doing so, the commission will allow former firefighters and police officers who are trained, experienced, and valued members to be considered for reinstatement. As the commission is surely aware, the Seattle Fire Department is still experiencing a staffing shortage, and its efforts to hire enough employees have fallen short. In addition, more than half of our department is less than 5 years on the job. While these members are excellent, well-trained firefighters, there's no substitute for experience. Retaining experienced firefighters is extremely important for the critical life-saving services that we provide, as well as for firefighter safety. Local 27 did advocate for this change in 2021 during collective bargaining in response to the COVID-19 mandate, and we've lobbied to remain supportive of this change since that time. These amendments will address a policy that should be amended. Thank you for allowing me to speak on behalf of Seattle firefighters.
Thank you for being here. We appreciate your comments. Ms. Lee, we're looking forward to your comments now if you're ready.
Yeah, I'm ready. What?
Thank you, President.
Oh, someone's speaking.
That was Commissioner Nark. Go ahead, Ms. Lee.
Okay. So this, I'm speaking, but I will admit I'm in an awkward position because involving the COVID-19 and the pending litigation in which I'm personally named as the defendant. So I keep that in mind relative to my comments. The concern for the proposed rule change is in the term non-disciplinary. The fire department has not made any non-disciplinary separations in the past, I don't know, 4 or 5, maybe even longer years. And that police and fire departments view separations a bit differently than in other departments, because part of the reason is that they're quasi-military. So a separation for a rule violation or a violation of a directive would constitute a disciplinary discharge. I also note that the current rules do not have any definition of what a non-disciplinary discharge is. And the department is in the best position to ascertain what the nature of the discharge, whether it was one of disciplinary or non-disciplinary. I will refer to, there are other civil service rules in other cities that have defined what disciplinary discharge is and what it is not. Those include the Renton Police Civil Service, the Redmond Civil Service, and the Issaquah Civil Service. And in those rules, it is clearly defined what constitutes as a disciplinary discharge. That is completely missing here and subject to interpretation in these current rules because there is no definition of a non-disciplinary discharge. And I also want to note that with respect to the separations for non-compliance, there was no designation in any of the city's records, at least for the fire department, which we utilized, that said that those separations were non-disciplinary. So as a matter of record, those separations were for policy violations, and those policy violations are considered a disciplinary separation. If the commission wants to proceed with the rule as is without having any definitions or even referring to the other civil service rules, which are a little bit more robust in defining that to give additional context to both the departments as well as the employees or former employees, then to me, in just and fairness, then it needs to look and set the effective date of these new rules for employment decisions that are made after implementation of the rules. Because you're going to create problems with those that are pending litigation, and you'll have a class there of those folks, and then those that are subsequent to the rule change. And frankly, I think it would undermine the commission's integrity to go ahead and backtrack on rules that it made and that the departments have relied on when the prior rules were in effect. So I would hope that it would be prospective only in its application to future decisions so that the departments can take into consideration the type of disciplinary, or if they want to designate a separation as non-disciplinary, they can. But as it stands now, there is currently no separation, and that includes those from the fire department that would not be considered a disciplinary discharge. Thank you.
I have a person who's emailing me and wants to give public comment. Can we go off the record?
Sure. Ms. Lee, thank you very much. We appreciate you being here and for providing this input that you gave today. Sounds like we have someone contacting Ms. Shealy to provide public comment. We're going to go off the record for just a moment. Hi, everyone. This is Commissioner Knoll. We're back on the record at 10:50. We took a brief break because we were getting input that there were some technological issues with folks joining the meeting. There was a joint session between two different commissions this morning, so we think some people may have been in that meeting inadvertently. We apologize for any confusion or frustration, and we're glad you're here now. We do have staff monitoring that other meeting that was from earlier this morning to make sure anybody there gets help coming over here. So with that said, we're still in the public comment section of this meeting. I've said a couple times, but I'll just repeat for anyone who's new. We're asking public comment to provide us with input, opinions, considerations, etc. regarding the proposed rule change. We're looking forward to hearing your input. We're asking you to keep it to 3 minutes. And we'll remind you that given the nature of what we're doing today, it's a rulemaking. This is not a question and answer period. We're happy to hear all of your comments. And if you have questions that you submit, we'll certainly take those into consideration in terms of whether they point to any need for further clarification, et cetera. So with that, I think we have 1, 2, 3, 4, possibly 5 folks who want to comment. I see Stephen Collins. I think you are the first to join. So if you would like to speak at this time, I'll turn it over to you.
Okay, hey, this is a little confusing. I am driving, and we understood the meeting was at 11:15, and then it was at 10 a.m. I'd like to reserve any questions of mine for a little while. If I would like to go last or somewhere in the.
Right. I'll go ahead and have other folks, give other folks the opportunity to provide public comment before you. Again, it's not a question and answer period. It's just a time for public comment, but we're happy to have you go last. Is anyone else present who wishes to provide public comment at this time?
Hey, my name's Jeff Vale. I'm a former Seattle firefighter, and I was fired for the vaccine mandate. I've never attended one of these. Can you, because I have some questions, and I think they're relevant. And I can post them in the chat, or I can ask them out loud. Is there a reason why relevant questions are not appropriate for this setting?
That's the nature of a rulemaking procedure and the nature of accepting public comment. This is not a hearing or an appeal. We'll ask that no substantive information go into the chat at this time. It can be difficult for folks to see it depending on how they're attending this meeting. We also want to make sure that our record of this meeting is clear. You are more than welcome to read any questions that you have into the record. We're happy to hear that and take that into advisement, and we'll ask you to limit that to three minutes. I will say there's also been weeks of opportunity for folks to provide public comment or ask questions, provide public comment in writing as well. So go ahead if you'd like to read your questions.
Yeah, thank you guys for considering this issue, and I will read my questions. The first one addresses the timeliness of this. So numerous of us tried to apply for reinstatement months ago and were denied. We're just wondering why is the rule change being considered now?
They're not going to answer.
Okay, I'll give all 3 questions, and if you guys can address them. We noticed that there was a recent change to the language that's being addressed in this issue. It went from considering the word cause specifically to non-disciplinary termination. That's a, I guess this is a comment. That's an interesting change and doesn't match the civil service rules or the RCW. So that's a comment I would like noted, and I think that's a big deal. And I would like the commission to comment on that specific change that happened kind of in the 11th hour, it seems. And then I guess also, if cause is mentioned in the RCWs and the civil service rules, why would that not be addressed in this? I feel like my public comment is that using language that's consistent with the rules in place makes more sense. And so I'm just kind of wondering why we're not using that language, and I would love to hear that. So that's just my general comment. And that's really all I have, and I do appreciate you guys taking this issue into consideration.
Thank you for being here. We appreciate hearing what questions you're wondering about and what clarification you would like to see or changes. Thank you. Who else? Who is ready to speak next? If anyone.
Commissioner Narkis, it's appropriate at this time.
We're going to wait for the discussion period, and so first we'll finish the public comment section, then we'll start with you for the discussion period, Commissioner Nark.
Thank you.
Thank you. So I'm not seeing anyone jump in. So if anyone would like to be heard, I know we have someone driving who wanted to go last. I think now is your opportunity.
I'll jump in real quick. My name is Jeff Gunther. I'm a current employee of the Seattle Fire Department. I just was made aware of these changes or proposed changes very recently, and they seem to address some of the issues that we've been wanting addressed for a year or two. And it seems like, from what I've read, I would support these changes in that it would allow some of our employees who were separated, terminated, fired, whatever terminology was used by their department, this would appear to make an attempt to rectify that situation. And I would encourage adoption of this change if it does in fact provide a way back for these employees who were, quote, separated. And that is my comment.
Thank you. We appreciate you being here and providing that input today. I see someone else has turned their video camera on. I'm guessing you may want to speak next. I can't see your name, but go ahead if you'd like to speak. And we can't hear you.
It's Mr. Pittman. Mr. Pittman, can you hear us? We cannot hear you.
I don't know if you can hear me, but I'm having technical problems.
Yes, we can hear you now.
Yeah, we can hear you very well. Will you begin again and start by introducing yourself, sir?
Yeah, my name is Steve Collins. I was a former Seattle firefighter. I retired after being threatened to be fired. And so the question that I would have is similar to what Mr. Vale said. Why now? And how is this going to affect the people that were terminated and then refused to be reinstated? So what they did was they made up a term, which we have yet to. We've multiple public disclosure requests, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So far, we have not found the genesis of the term non-disciplinary separated, and it's not it has never been incorporated in the 10.3 rule before, and yet people were refused to be reinstated after the mandate was dropped. And so we would like to understand where it came from and how it affects people at this point. And I am unable to mute. I don't know. I'm driving. I'm in Montana, and I'm unable to mute myself. So if you can mute me, I would appreciate it. I don't want to make any awkward comments.
Okay, thank you. We appreciate the input that you provided, and we will mute you at this time. Oh, we cannot mute you. So we're going to need you to manage that on your end, unfortunately.
Okay. I'll do it.
Okay, thank you for that. Andrew Pittman, we see you're here. We can see you talking at times, but we haven't been able to hear you yet. Can you hear us?
If he logs out and logs back on.
Will you consider logging out and logging back on? We would like to hear from you, but we're not able to hear anything. In the meantime, does anyone else wish to be heard?
I don't wish to be heard, but I just want to make a record of the people we've heard from. We heard from Mr. Collins, we heard from Mr. Vale, we heard from HR Director Sarah Lee, and we heard from President Stewart in favor of the changes. Did we hear from anyone else?
No.
Oh, I think we can hear you now, sir.
Sorry, Jeff Cutler. Thank you.
Fire station that I'm currently in is minimizing my service. So if you hear any road noise, I do apologize for that right now. I've got a couple of statements I would like, or questions and concerns I'd like to address. So whenever you guys are ready, I'll start with my 3 minutes.
We're ready for you. And thank you. If we have audio issues, I'm going to interrupt you and ask you to turn video off. Maybe that'll maximize audio, but so far we can hear you.
Okay, so my reading thus far about the current rule change for 10.03 is kind of framing it in the guise of allowing us back is the way I understand it, but it doesn't seem to address, or maybe it's modified, or maybe I missed it, but the previous time when you opened up the 1 year time frame to 4 to 5 years was due to low staffing and in the position of firefighter and cop. And so this new rule change talks about the best interest of the city. I would like to have that defined, because if it's not in the guise of staffing for the city, that is definitely not in the best interest of the city. Right now, there's a staffing shortage. Myself, I would love to go back to work for Seattle Fire Department. I have all of the training to go back. Right now, you guys are talking about numbers of separations or retirements versus people coming in. I know the current recruit class is almost a third down of what their target goal was. So to me, the best interest is for me and my brothers and sisters to be able to go back to work and save the city money. And like Captain Gunther said, you know, he wants us to come back. We're good, honorable members. We just want to be on the rigs, serving the community, working alongside our brothers and sisters. And anything short of allowing us to go back to work, like I said in the previous meeting in my denial to be reinstated, is anything you do that doesn't allow us to go back to work is not in the best interest of the city. And finding a solution to get us back seems like the most logical way to go forward. Whatever terms you come up with to address that would be in the same light as the same terms you created to fire us. So I'm just asking for that same enthusiasm to get us back in the door and limit the liability and the risk to the community that we serve, as was taken to find a way to get us out. Thank you.
Thank you for providing input today. I appreciate you being here. A couple new folks have joined. We are still in the public comment section of our rulemaking part of the agenda. If you'd like to be heard, please indicate so now. I'm looking for hands up or for anyone unmuting.
Sarah told me 2 people just joined this meeting.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying we're seeing new names. We've had folks with technical difficulties, so I'm continuing to speak in case we have people who are trying to speak who we can't hear. Okay, I see someone on video now. Sir, if you'd like to be heard, great, thank you. Go ahead. Start by introducing yourself, please.
Hello, my name is Ian Condon. I'm a former Seattle firefighter and member of your Rescue One technical rescue team. And my comment is just that I understand that the Civil Service Commission's, part of your job is to protect the civil service worker. And so I guess that's all I would just say is that I hope that in your considerations of your changes, your rule changes, however you're going to go about conducting, yourselves as an entity, that you keep that in mind, that you're in place to protect and make sure that the city does things and conducts things like separations or considerations of employment from the perspective of protecting the rights of the civil service worker. And we are hopeful and confident that this body is capable of doing that. So I appreciate you taking my comments into consideration, and also just for the benefit of the city to have highly trained individuals serving them once again on your rigs. Thank you.
Thank you for being present today and providing public comment. We appreciate that. Is there anyone else who wishes to be heard? Again, we've had a couple folks just join. We're not hearing from anyone. I'm just going to give it one more moment. If you're trying to speak and we can't hear you and you're able to access the chat, you can tell us in the chat that you're trying to be heard. Again, I just want to make sure folks who have worked hard to come over to this meeting are able to be heard. But if you're speaking, we're not able to hear you.
I have a quick question. This is Jeff Vale. Is there a way to obtain a recording of this entire meeting? Because I know some stuff happened before we were all here.
Yes, Mr. Vale, you can make a public records request, or anyone can make a public records request through the portal. And we can provide you, that's the best way for us to provide you a copy of this recording. This is Andrea Shealy, the Executive Director.
All right, thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay, with that, we're closing public comment. We've not seen indication from anyone else that they wish to be heard, and we've heard from many of you. We appreciate you being here. At this time, I had indicated before that we would go straight into discussion, and I know Commissioner Nark had comments that he wanted to make. However, we're going to take this in a slightly different order. We are going to go to executive session at this time and then come back and have discussion on the record. The commission will now be going into executive session to discuss with legal counsel representing the agency litigation or potential litigation related to a proposed action or current practice pursuant to RCW 4230-110-1, Roman numeral 1. It is expected that the commission will be in executive session until approximately 12:30. So at that time, we'll come back on the record, continue the meeting. My anticipation is we'll go into the discussion portion of our rulemaking at that time. If we need more time in executive session, we will come back at 12:30 and make that announcement. Thank you. Commissioner Nark, we're going to call you from a different. Hi, everyone. This is Commissioner Stacy Knoll again. We are back on the record and we are being recorded again. It's 12:33 p.m. Okay, so we have appreciated all of the public comment that we received, which has included questions. It's included concerns. We've taken that very seriously. And we've heard questions or concerns that we want to take additional time to consider and to give folks further opportunity to provide public comment on through writing, if people would like, and or verbal comments. We're also concerned that not everyone who may have wanted to be heard today during the public comment section had access to that. People who are here in the meeting, we believe we're all given an opportunity for public comment, but because there was possibly a mix-up with the meeting link, we want to make sure that because of that challenge, anyone out there who wants to be heard gets an opportunity to be heard. So the whole point of the rulemaking process is that we get input from the public comment, and if we need more time to consider, research, or look into it, we take that time. So we're going to do that. We're going to extend the public comment period until our next meeting. Our next meeting is December 14, 2023 at 10 a.m. And there will be information about how to join that meeting on our website and will be sent out to our usual listservs. And if you want to get notice of our meetings, including this meeting, you're welcome to join our listserv through our website. Please do that if you'd like to. So we will be continuing to take public comment. We'll be continuing to consider the questions and concerns that we heard today. And this rulemaking will be on our agenda for that December 14 meeting, and we may take a vote at that time on the proposed rule or any new version that's been proposed by that time. I do also want to note Commissioner Nark, who is attending by phone throughout the meeting. He is no longer attending. He dropped off and did not rejoin after the executive session. So I just wanted to note that for the record that he's not with us. Okay, so with that, we are not taking a commission vote on proposed rule changes, and that concludes the rulemaking section of our agenda today. And we'll be moving on to number 6 of the agenda. Thank you all who attended and engaged with us in the rulemaking process and took the time to provide public comment, whether in writing or verbally today. Thank you. Okay, number 6, approval of meeting minutes. That's pages 15 through 18 of your agenda. That's our October 19, 2023 special meeting. I did have an opportunity to review. I have already requested a minor change, and I appreciate Teresa Jacobs making that right away. And so the version in the packet, I would move to approve as submitted.
And I would second that motion.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, it's been approved. Thank you. Discussion items, number 7. This is the civil service conference. I'll entertain a very brief recap.
Yes, thank you. We did I think all of us at some level did attend the civil service conference. I thought it was very good. The materials, recordings are not yet available on the Foster Garvey website, but we'll let commissioners and staff and attendees know, in-person attendees know when they are posted. If anyone online would like to know also, just let me know and I'll send you the link when it's available.
Thank you. Will you also provide us with an employee election update?
Yes, I actually was going to ask Sarah Butler to give us that update. Sarah, are you able to do that?
Yes, can you all hear me?
Yeah.
Great. So election week has come and gone. Ballot voting took place from November 6th through November 13th, and that is closed. The election rules do provide that mailed ballots can be received up to 7 days after the voting week closes and also be counted. So we're in that waiting period currently. So we should have full results on November 20th. And otherwise, I will just report that 668 ballots have been received for the Public Safety Civil Service Commission. It's a ranked choice voting ballot tabulation, so we should have information next week about it, what the final outcome was.
Thank you. I appreciate that. We're looking forward to the results and welcoming a new commissioner to our board. Okay.
That commissioner will take office January 1st, is that right?
That's correct.
That's correct.
Yes, and we will be thanking Commissioner Nark for so many years, actually decades of service. We're going to do that when he can be present in person, so that's likely January.
Probably January, definitely January, February.
Okay, and we're really looking forward to having the opportunity to express our gratitude, I should say. Okay, fire and police exams unit. Who would like to kick that off?
Hi, everyone. My name is Adelaide Alderks with the Fire and Police Exams Unit. I'm going to fill in for Rachel today on the police exams update. So I have a couple updates regarding the police officer exams. We have a lateral exam cycle that is closing next week on the 22nd. We have 11 applicants for that cycle. Of those 11, it looks like 4 actually met the qualifications for lateral police officer and were, subsequently invited to complete the civil service exam. Oral boards for that group are going to take place on December 9th. It looks like year to date, we've received a total of 138 lateral applications, which is slightly higher than where we were at in 2022. We're also currently in the middle of our 7th entry-level exam cycle of the year. So that exam cycle closes on December 20th. We've had 145 applications so far for that exam cycle for entry level. Year to date for entry level, we've received a total of 1,754 applications, and that averages at about 6 applications per day. In 2022, last year, we received about 5.5 applications per day. So we are seeing a slight improvement from 2022 to 2023. However, put into a broader historical context, our application numbers are still definitely lower than they were in the years preceding the pandemic. Let's see. We have also been working pretty closely with SPD to identify our exam schedule for entry and lateral police officer for next year. And we've identified 7 police officer exam cycles for entry level and then another 7 for lateral. And the specific dates have been proposed, and we're just waiting on approval from SPD's background investigation unit just to make sure that that schedule works on their end with the subsequent pre-employment screening processes that they manage after we finish our civil service testing. And yeah, the last update I have is just regarding promotional exams. So the 2024 Police Sergeant Exam Development Committee has been meeting. They are in the process of reviewing written exam questions that were developed from the exam bibliography. And that written exam is scheduled to occur on March 2nd, 2024. And the oral board for that group will happen on April 6th, 2024. And that's all I have for you.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I had a question. This is Richard Green. Do we have any sense about, concerned about the sort of the monetary bonuses that the city was offering for police officers? Do we have any sense whether that's having any effect on the numbers?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And I think it's probably hard to identify the impact of the hiring incentive alone, given that there's been so many other things happening, advertising campaigns and all of that. But I do know that there is a group within SPD that has been trying to look closely at the effectiveness of those hiring incentives. So we can definitely see if they have any information and get back to you.
And also, I know that Commissioner Nark was very interested in if we had any numbers on like year-to-date separations and year-to-date hires.
I have that information.
Okay.
That I'll report later on in the meeting.
Awesome.
Okay, thank you. Do we?
Police or fire?
Yeah, okay, yeah. Hi, I thought I saw you.
Hi, this is Yoshiko Grace Matsui with the Police and Fire Exams Unit, specifically fire. So I wanted to give a quick status report on what we're up to. We are closing out in the very final lead up to the publication of this year's Fireboat Engineer promotional examination, and the register for that will be published on December 15th. All the scoring is completed, so we're in the process of calculating service credit. We give time to candidates to review that, and so they can find if there's any discrepancies or if they want to learn more about how service credit is calculated before the register comes out. The combined Captain and Battalion Chief Promotional Development Committee has been meeting steadily. We're in the process of finalizing, I guess you could call finalizing the proposed bibliography, which will be coming out actually, I think, next week. I don't know about you, but when I looked and saw that Thanksgiving was next week, I had a small panic attack. And then an emergency trip to Costco last night. Coming up soon is going to be the initiation and the start of the Fireboat Pilot Exam Promotional Development Committee, which starts meeting typically in December. It runs a couple of months behind the other promotional examinations so that they don't all happen all at once. And as you know, I'm sure coming up also in 2024 is the opening of a new firefighter exam, which will be coming in, application period will be in fall. Typically those job announcements get put out in the first or second week of October. So we're looking at October 2024 with oral boards tentatively scheduled in January and February of 2025.
Thank you very much. All right, thanks. I will note we have many folks still in the meeting who were here for public comment. You are very welcome to stay. We appreciate the interest, but if you have other things you want to move on to, I did want to note that we won't, there's no further action or discussion regarding the rulemaking that will happen today. We'll be picking it up in a month at our next meeting. So just wanted to reiterate that in case people have other places they need to be. Okay, next on the agenda is Executive Director Departmental and Budget Update.
Thank you, Chair Knoll. I'm going to start my report with the numbers that Commissioner Nark requested a few months ago, and that will make a regular part of this meeting. I did receive
input from Seattle Fire Department and from Seattle Police Department. For Seattle Fire Department, their sworn staffing right now is at, their sworn staffing is at 1,012. Their budgetary authority is for 1,084. They were able to add one budget pocket for a captain paramedic to their count since the last month. They have had 94 appointments and they have had 87 separations. For the Seattle Police Department, their authorized budget pockets are 1,354. Their current staffing is at 1,066. They have hired 56 individuals and they have separated 88 individuals year to date. And that's all types of separations, any type of separation. Right? As for our departmental work, we have been working very hard on getting ready for today and on this rulemaking process. We have also, as you heard from Sarah Butler, and she didn't go into every detail, but a significant amount of work has been going into the CSC and PSCSC elections. Teresa Jacobs has been handling multiple large Public Records Act requests. And we do have the work of the Civil Service Commission as well, proceeding along in appeals and requests in that venue. I'm glad that every member of this commission, actually, I'm sorry, most members of this commission were able to attend this, at least part of the Civil Service Conference. And I think it's a good use of our time. Budget report is at page 19 in your packet. And it's actually, there is budget information, but there's also expenditures as compared to last year in your packet as well. And I'm always happy to answer questions about this report, but it's pretty, I think, self-evident. The department is well within its spending budgetary authority. We will probably have a little bit of underspend this year from our adopted budget. And again, the significant difference between last year and this year is we have an additional employee on our staff that we did not have last year. That concludes my departmental and budget update.
Thank you for that. If there are no questions, please proceed with the case status report for Willis.
Thank you. The case status report you'll find at page 20. The new addition at the top of the page is of the Willis appeal. That's Willis v. SP. Ms. Officer Willis appealed a disciplinary suspension that he received this month. And I have reviewed the appeal, the notice of appeal and notified the Seattle Police Department of it. It is timely and within the jurisdiction of the commission. So we will proceed to a pre-hearing conference in that matter, and you'll hear more about it in the future.
Thank you.
So I have a question about if we go through that, what is the process for that? Obviously Officer Willis will come and say why he thinks that 4 days or 3 days or whatever was excessive. Do we have someone from SPD that responds to that?
Yeah. Can I answer that? Certainly. With this, this would essentially be a hearing, correct?
Yes.
So it's essentially a bench trial with the three of us presiding.
Okay.
And Officer Willis, I don't know, is it Officer Willis would have an opportunity to have counsel if he wishes, and we've certainly had officers who are retaining counsel, or he can represent himself, and then the city of Seattle has an attorney from the city attorney's office, and it looks just like a bench trial. There's a little bit more wiggle room than
an administrative hearing.
Yeah, that's a good analogy. We're not encouraged, but we do follow the rules of evidence, and some of us have to brush up on those. Typically, the chair presides. We have had situations where we've only had 2 of the commissioners because a third has had to recuse him or herself. And we have a former judge who used to be a commissioner who twice now has sat has been approaching an appointment as a commissioner. That Judge Terry Carroll, he's incredible. He was probably pretty well. So a couple of years ago, we had a very involved hearing that may have been 4 or 5 days on the record, then multiple days of deliberation. He chaired that just because he had the requisite experience. And then the next time we had a hearing, I was chair. I had planned to chair that hearing. He was a great support behind the scenes to help prepare me to chair that hearing. Just because I'm a little farther out from trial practice than maybe other commissioners I'm sitting with are. That hearing didn't go forward because that appellant, am I saying the right word? Failed to show for the hearing. So, but it's a great chance to really get back into the work that you've not so left.
In advance of the hearing, which we'll schedule with all of you, I'll preside over the hearing phase.
Okay.
And get witness lists and we'll do a conflicts check and all of that. So a couple of months, there's a discovery phase as well.
Okay.
And then another nice thing about this commission is the executive director picks dates that work with our schedule and the appellant, and there's lots of back and forth to make sure everybody's comfortable with the dates that we choose. And we don't always go in consecutive hearing dates if we need more than one date. We don't always go in consecutive days because it doesn't work with the schedule. So we have flexibility. The last 2 that we've heard were terminations, so there was a lot of evidence that needed to be admitted, so we had reserved days.
Okay.
But short of a termination, it might be a shorter hearing.
Okay.
Okay, is there anything else from the executive director before I go to old and new business?
No.
Okay, number 12 on the agenda, is there old or new business? Thank you. Number 13, executive session. We had one related to rulemaking. I'm not aware of any need for further executive session at this time. So with that, I thank everyone for attending. Again, we appreciated your public comment and your engagement. And I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I would so move.
I second that. All in favor?
Aye.
We will adjourn this meeting at 12:54 p.m. Thank you all.